Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel, Chronic Positivity. I thought today that I would do a story time. And this story time is gonna be about my gastroparesis diagnosis and journey. So if you're interested, feel free to like, comment, share, and if you're new, subscribe. I would love to have you join me. So, I was born quite a few months premature, and I had a bunch of health issues, and then I somehow grew out of them. But I have gotten some of them back, or new ones actually. I got some new ones. But so I was always a tiny person, tiny child. But I went from, sorry, you guys are gonna see my cat, Peekaboo. I went from being 95 pounds maybe 4 or 5 years ago to losing so much weight. I was 74 pounds, 4 years ago. And so my journey started when I had severe stomach pain. I could tell my stomach was not working because I had some issues, and I would get severe pain and nausea. I ended up going to the hospital probably 10 times in 4 months because I was vomiting so much and I had so much stomach pain. So one time I went to a different hospital that I haven't went to before, and they saw that I was in the hospital quite a bit and that I was not well, because I went in after vomiting once and my potassium was dangerously low. I had the ER doctor assume that I was anorexic because of how tiny I was. He could see my ribs, all that fun stuff, which is not the case. So I kept trying to get some help, and since my potassium was dangerously low and I was really tiny, 74 pounds 4 years ago, and I'm 25 now, they decided to admit me to do further testing. I was admitted for, I believe, 3 weeks, and I did a gastric emptying study, which is where you eat the food that I don't like, which is eggs, with radioactive dye in it so they can track it through your stomach and intestines. And then they give you a jam sandwich, and then they take pictures every hour, and it's a 4-hour study. And my gastroparesis was pretty bad, but I was still able to eat food with medication, metoclopramide, which the medication helps move the food through your stomach. And I kind of forgot to say what gastroparesis is, so I'm kind of gonna go back to that. So gastroparesis is pretty much where your stomach is paralyzed or doesn't contract like it should. So the food would just sit in my stomach and make me really sick and cause a lot of pain. But I was okay for a few years, like up until this year actually, July is when I started to really get sick. But I would have these flare-ups to where I could only keep Ensure down, which is okay because it's a supplemental drink. But now I can't keep anything down. So now I'm strictly tube fed. And they said my G-tube, because I only have the G-tube, they said that the G-tube works for gastroparesis if it's a slow rate being fed into your stomach. So I now have a G-tube because I can't keep anything down, even liquids. Like, I've had this water bottle since the day before yesterday, and this is the amount that I've been able to drink, which is barely anything. But I'm still trying to eat and drink a little bit by mouth each day, but it's not working out very well. Yeah, so that's basically how my story started. But every time I went to my GI doctor with issues of vomiting and stuff, he just kept saying that it was my mental health and blah, blah, blah. And then I had tests that proved him, I guess you can say, wrong, because it's not my mental health. It's not in my head. I'm physically vomiting, and I vomited in front of the nurses and the doctors before. So they all seen it. Yeah. So I was thinking about this. So when I was younger, I used to not have very much of an appetite. Like, sometimes I would go not eating breakfast or lunch, like I would skip meals sometimes, and other times I would be perfectly fine eating. God, I would eat a lot. And I could not gain weight. But I'm pretty sure that was a part of my Addison's disease, which, if you're interested in hearing about that diagnosis, I can do a video on that if you want. Just comment down below. And I also had some bowel issues when I was younger. And yeah, so that's pretty much how my story started. And then I went to the hospital this upcoming September because I was vomiting literally everything. I could not keep anything down, but I was stubborn, and the vomiting started, I believe, in July, where I was vomiting probably 4 or 5 times a day, which is not good for anybody. But then I had enough finally, and I was like, I have to go to the hospital. And I went to the hospital. They admitted me from September to the beginning of November. And they tried me on clear liquid diet for 2 weeks. Also with IV fluids. I was not able to keep the clear liquid diet down at all. And let me tell you, I am very sick of Jell-O now, because that's their favorite food to give you when you're on a clear liquid diet. I had Jell-O every single time, and I would throw it up. It is not nice to throw up, but when you have it multiple times as well, it's really annoying. Or it's really kind of, I don't like it anymore. And then I kept throwing up on them in front of them, and then I would get really sick and have lots of pain and stuff like that. So then they did a nasal tube, and then the nasal tube actually kind of helped. I wasn't vomiting up as much. Only if I took stuff orally by mouth, I would vomit. So then I was like, okay, well then maybe I can go home with this, and maybe it's just a temporary thing. I was wrong. I cannot go home with a nasal feeding tube because I don't know, I guess like because of my vision impairment. But at the same time, I had different doctors telling me different things. They said I could go home with it. They said I'd have to stay in the hospital until I was better. Then another couple doctors were like, we can do the permanent G-tube. And, well, of course, it came down to the time where I was like, I want to go home. So the doctor that was talking to me about the permanent G-tube actually said I would benefit from it. So here I am now with a G-tube. Not very pleasant, but I've gotten used to it. Got to make the best of every situation. Yeah, so I have this feeding tube now. They had me in the hospital at a rate of 100 milliliters per hour, and I did not tolerate that. So right now I am on 40 milliliters an hour, and my GI doctor, when I got out of the hospital, actually sent me to a motility specialist. So I don't have a GI doctor anymore. He's not my doctor. I have a motility specialist now. And I seen her once. Well, no, it was over the phone, but it was only one appointment. And she said that I need to keep my rate down in order for the G-tube to work because it's going into my stomach and my stomach doesn't work. And she said I would have more issues with the GJ tube. So I'd have more frequent hospital visits, etc. I don't need any of that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll be hooked up pretty much 24/7. Which is better than hospital stays, I guess. So yeah, I have this G-tube and they're gonna switch my feed possibly to something easier digested. I'm on Peptamen 1.5 and yeah, so at least now I'm not getting told that it's in my head. My motility specialist believes me. Yeah, I just feel validated, and usually during these difficult diagnoses that I get, I don't feel very validated until the tests come back and show stuff. Which, no, I don't want any more issues, but if I get diagnosed with different issues, then I figure it out and I can have a better quality of life. And yeah, like I'm living my life. It's a pretty good life. I literally just, yeah, I'm getting fed by a machine, and I'm hooked up pretty much 24/7, but it's easy to, well, it's not easy, but it's all right to adapt to. Like, it's a hard situation. Nobody wants to have any feeding tube or anything. But what I've learned, because I'm also visually impaired, my visual impairment is a visible disability. And the way I see this is, not everybody knows about my gastroparesis. Not everybody knows why I have a feeding tube, but they can still see it. So it is a visible thing or item on my body. And I actually haven't had anybody comment on it asking about my feed and that stuff, like, because it's in a backpack when I go out. I make the tubing as short as possible, but it doesn't make it invisible. People know I wear a backpack. They can probably tell it's a feed backpack because there's tubes sticking out of it, and then the tube for my stomach is sticking out of it. So yeah, so it's kind of vital to live. Whether or not I can get off of the feeding tube is a whole nother situation, because I've had it since the beginning of November and it is now April, I think, near the end of April, and I'm still unable to keep anything down except even water. So, yeah, I'm sorry if this story time was all over the place. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. I'm sure my cat was a camera star. I'm not sure though. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, share, all the things. And if you're new, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload videos. If you would like any more medical videos about my journey of getting diagnosed, etc., feel free to comment down below, and I will look forward to reading your comments. See you in the next video.